All righty. Well, hey, great to meet you, Nathaniel. Thank you so much for making some time to chat and hang out for a little bit. And hey, huge congratulations. I think I heard the news you had just recently passed CISSP or the CISSP. Is that right? Tell me all about it. I'm happy to learn who you are, what you're up to, and then, hey, maybe some sweet insight on that big certification exam.
So, yeah, John, I'm just a 23-year-old guy, but with a very tinkery attitude of, trying out different new things, especially in the security and tinkering side. I started at the age of 16, and it all started off when my friend needed a website. And she asked me, "Can you make a website?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and yeah, WordPress, so it should be fine." And then it just scaled up. So when you say scaled up, then it went to, okay, now who's going to host this website? So then we uploaded on AWS. Then I think one of the situations that I arise is wherein the server got compromised with a ransomware. Okay, so then it went into, okay, recovering it. Fortunately, we had backed up the database and all the data, so we could recover from it. And yeah, so basically it was just one after the other. After I didn't have any formal role of, you know, yeah, I am a security guy, I'm a networking guy, I'm a WordPress guy. It was like, yeah, whatever came on, just do it and go forward.
No, I know it. It sounds like, hey, whatever comes along, you sort of have to wear many hats and then just generalize whatever comes up. That's the new task. That's the new problem to solve. So,
Yeah. So I mean, I started off with like working with a startup. So in a startup, you have to wear multiple hats, and that gives you a lot of, it gives you a lot of learning, a lot of late night sleeps or no sleeps as well. So that is there, maybe preparing you for the IT industry.
hmm.
uh, but you get these problems where late night calls, something is not available. Okay, how do you make sure it's up and available? From a business point of view, all clients care about is making sure they're not losing money, right? In a way, it just got ingrained into me because I was that guy. I was that typical tech guy who would go into a client meeting with a proper developer kind of a vibe, at least initially, and not not comb my hair and all of that. You know how we all start off.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I was that guy. And then after, obviously, you change your time, you get a few kicks, and then you realize, okay, I've screwed up. And that's how it's worked, that's how it is. And learning, then you have some of them needed backups. And okay, how do you things up? You put that on S3. How do you maybe compress it and then put it? Maybe people are not using it a lot, so you go into deep archive storage. So like that, that's how my role evolved into something unique altogether. So I started working in a company. I mean, it was our own company called Hydrogans. We built it. It was a search engine. So we had the ability to, basically, we would get the indexes which of websites. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. Sounds Google like, right? Search engines and all.
Yes. So we would get that data and we would keep it on our database. And then we had the ability to get access to a lot of things which were not publicly accessible by a lot of people, like documents, movies, all that stuff. And yeah, then I got more into the consulting side. When you say consulting, in the sense, again, it was fundamentally development, operations, management of resources, as well as all the security aspects as well. Implementing a firewall, making sure antiviruses are running, making sure the scans, you get an email and going through the scans, making sure there's no virus on it or malwares on it. Believe it or not, I did a vulnerability assessment for a company at the age of, I think it was 17.
Oh wow.
which, which is unique. I was fortunate enough, like whatever, how it basically ran a NIST scan, and then it goes as to, okay, how do you know the scan is perfect? Which you'll not know, which you'll know like it isn't always the case. So then, okay, go check with Metasploit, check whether everything's working perfectly fine. Did that for a company, and recently I got awarded by the minister as well in my country. And yeah, this is some of the things I've done. On the technical side, we could go into, like, yeah, the home labs I've built. So because when in security, you need to understand the technicality of how development works, how an operation works. When you say operation, in terms of how operations work on a day-to-day basis, as well as how networking works. So I went and did a CCNA course, and I was fortunate enough to have people guide me through what to do, how to do. So with GNS3, went and built like a mini data center environment. Now, when you and primarily work with Cisco routers and switches. So I think there was around 50 different switches, and then multiply that by n number of servers. So then at that point, I did not know how Ansible and all works. I did not even know Ansible existed. So then I would make like a Python script that spitted out the configuration files and then copy pasted. I mean, for a 16, I don't know, I think 17, 18-year-old, that was like the wisest thing I could ever have done, and everyone should follow me.
Nice.
But yeah, that is my journey in short.
Super cool. How, if I may ask, how did you fall into CISSP, or how did that come up as, a new certification or study that you wanted to go tackle and chase?
So I could tell you the rosy version, and I can tell you the professional
Mm,
version. I mean, the professional version was I went and asked people, and they said CISSP was really hard. And then I thought, okay, I'll take on this challenge. And I spent a lot of time studying. And then eventually I gave it. The rosy version was I Googled the top security certification. CISP was first, and I did that.
nice.
And that is the truth.
I mean, it's true. It is up there, without a doubt.
It is true. It is true. It is true. And I wish I had, I wish I could document my entire journey wi- throughout me studying and all. That would have been a great for a lot of people, because seeing me studying and seeing maybe the pitfalls which I made, which I did make a lot. I wish I had documented that, in fact. So anyone starting off or doing any of, I mean, even the journey, document everything is what I would see, because that's something I wish I had done. So I started making blogs and all right now. I wish I was at your position. Started early. I started learning a lot from you, Network Chuck, and David Bumble. It's thanks to you guys. I learned my CCNA. I learned a lot of networking. I learned a lot of antivirus evasion tactics from you, especially. But yeah, that's so. I really would like to thank all of you guys. With respect to CISSP, yes, it is a mountain of knowledge. It's a lot of it's a humongous thing. It's like wide, but it's not deep. They'll go deep in like maybe one or two aspects. Specifically, I found the cryptography part extremely hard, because it went right down to the algorithms, which I never seen in any of these certifications, like to the depth. Yeah, it's extremely wide in terms of the mountain of knowledge that you require. And the next thing which I found really hard were the laws, because I don't come from that background. I am again that technical guy. So learning or understanding all the laws and all, like you have the HIPAA, you have GDPR, you have all those. I mean, that's just two. There are another 20 of them which would come. So that was something I realized I found it really hard, but I realized there was a technique to it. So in a lot of the mock exams, they would give the short form of the laws, and it would be really hard for me to understand what law they're talking about, especially when you go into short forms for the lesser known laws. But I realized in the CISSP exam, they don't use short forms at all. So then what happens, by the time look at the law, okay, this is what the law is talking about. So that is a trick that I realize. I mean, not realize. I see on Reddit. People should, this should be known. So that would be really helpful. That is something help me pass the laws section very specifically. If you have the base of how things work, and you see from a business perspective, when I say business in the sense, are we making money or are we losing money? Like, you wouldn't put $1 million security firewall or implementation for something which is making $1,000 or $100,000, right? That's the same concept. That's a very fundamental concept out here. So it's like basic math. If your salary is $100,000, you don't go spend to the $100,000. That's the same thing that works at a business level, and the same thing that works at a security level as well. It's something like insurance, something that could go wrong, so you put measures in place to make sure that doesn't happen. And if it does, which obviously we all know it does, but the question is when. So that is what I realized. Our security is very similar to the insurance industry, wherein it's going to happen. It's all a question about probability and how big the damage is going to be. And that's unique to every situation, unique to every environment, of course. But CISSP at its core is just that. It's if you can understand this concept, and you know the technical aspect, then I don't want to discount the exam, but it's actually pretty easy to understand. It's a huge amount of knowledge, but it's easy to understand, if that makes sense. Like something like the OSCP, where it's going extremely in depth, or something like a CPTS, specifically Hack the Box. They go extremely in depth. Like if you see some of the, they'll open Wireshark, they'll go into maybe the ICMP packets and all those aspects. So CISSP doesn't go into that. It's in fact simple for the technical people because of the knowledge they have, but the way they think is a little different. So, I think a person like you should be able to get through it, like, I mean, a walk. I am so sure about it.
Well, I think you had some cool strategies for even just studying and hey, how you would be able to retain all of that mountain of information because it's so vast, as you said. And the book, right? Like the whole material is pretty hefty and thick, right? How are you cutting through that? I think you were telling me a bit ago, like you could do some audio rendition. Is that right?
Yeah. So the book is actually humongous and boring. It's humongous and boring, but there are some amazing people firstly out in the industry. Coffee Shots by Prabhu Nair, his YouTube channel is amazing. Okay, Destination CISSP, their book is amazing. I got their book, it's extremely good, their mind maps. And in fact, uh, they were talking about Kerberos. So Kerberos as a topic is extremely in depth. When you go into the ticket granting service, ticket granting ticket, all of that, right? They summed it up into one diagram, which if you know that diagram, you understand Kerberos. Now that's a pretty big deal. I mean, even for me, I found that was one of the topics I found really hard to understand, Kerberos. So how it works and all. But they just go step by step and specifically show it from a very diagrammatic point of view. And as for the so-called hack that I used, so I know the kind of guy I am. I'm a listener. I'm very good at listening in terms of, I'll pick up things extremely fast. So there's an application called Speechify which converts your text to speech. It's basically a text to speech application, but it's much more better. Like if I use Edge and I use a text to speech, I think we all know what it is. But Speechify is extremely good. So that is something I use. So the CISSP book by itself is, I think, around 16 hours in terms of content. So that is actually pretty good compared to if you have to read the entire CISSP book. It's going to take you, I don't know how much time, a week, I mean, a month maybe. This is indirectly like 2 days of work, or 2 days if you take an 8-hour shift. I mean, it still took around, I think, a week to complete the entire book on like I on a 2x speed or 3x speed. I'm not sure what I did, but okay, yeah, I'm one of those guys. But you can tune it and all, and you'll that's one of the hacks which you can go through the book extremely fast. So that's some of the notes I got from a lot of people, and some of the amazing people out there who put amazing resources, even study notes and theory. His tests, his mock exams were the best compared to any other mock exam I took. When I say it's the most closest in terms of how CISSP is in terms of questions. So normally a lot of the mock tests that I seen were, they would ask you one question: what port does SSH work on? A very simple thing, which is never really comes. I think in the entire exam I had got 125 questions. I must have got one or two questions which was that straightforward, and that also I thought it was a trick, but it was that straightforward. Besides for that, what CISSP does, they combine 3 or 4 domains. So when I say domains, it basically means chapters. Okay, so the book is divided into chapters. They'll take multiple concepts, combine it together, and put it to you in one question. So you can't really skip out on a topic, okay, because it's less important. The questions are in a way that you need to have a really fundamental base. If your base is right and you understand how the technologies and how things work, even from a management perspective, from a managerial level, I think most people should be able to do the exam. But you need that hands on, as well as how to think like a manager, which is another very good book, by the way. How to Think Like a Manager was meant for CISSP. It's a pretty small book. There are just 25, I think, questions in it. But trust me, I think out of 25, I must have got 20 wrong. So That book was not technical. It was exactly how, or I won't say exactly, extremely similar to how the CISSP exam, the CISP exam is in terms of the questions. But I don't think so. I seen any question repeated in maybe the dumps or anywhere on the internet. There was no question that was repeated. It was all unique questions. All of them you have to sit in a very cool mind and understand. That's what I took from the the CISP exam. Yeah.
Cool. How was the exam itself, if I may ask? How was, just, I don't know, in the moment of prepping yourself to get into the place, the location, the and I don't know, even leaving the place after you just click the button to submit the exam, what was the aftermath, if you could tell the story, I guess.
So, I mean, when I went in, I was still at the last minute revising through CIS, all my notes that I built, making sure, okay, especially the laws, that was something hard for me, and the algorithm for AES and all. So, that was my, before I walked into the exam or the exam hall. But when you walk in, you have to switch off your phone, no access to any materials, all of that. What I, then when the exam started, the first 10, 10 or 15 questions were hard, but not really hard. It was like, okay, I'm finding this hard, but not that hard enough of what the so-called people said, okay, CISSP is hard. But apparently that was just a start.
Hmm.
So every question after that was just one is harder than the next, harder than the next, harder than the next. And then the one question which maybe asked the direct, I'm just giving an example. What port was SSH? What port does SSH use? Or what port does SMTP or HTTP use? That was like the relief question for me. But that was just one or two during the entire exam. And around the 80th question, I thought to myself, why am I paying IIC Square to kick my butt?
Why did I do this to myself?
Why do I do this to myself? And I, you know, this does not make logical sense in any manner. But I thought at this point, I will walk out of the exam at the 80th question. I will walk out. And I knew at that point, okay, this is how the exam is. I know where I need to study. And, when you, before the exam, you know the topics you're weak in. So I was mentally prepared. Yeah, I know this is where I'm weak in. This is where these people are hitting me on. I should walk out at the 80th question. But at around that time I thought, okay, when you fail, I'm already mentally preparing myself, I am going to fail. Okay, I thought that, like, when you give your IIC Square exam, you get a graph of the domains you're weak in. I thought this is going to be the most expensive practice test I'm going to give, so might as well give it. At least I will get the graph of which domains or which areas I am weak in. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll go ahead with the exam. And then it was just like, okay, do. And I was so sure I was failing it. Then at 125th question, it stopped. I'm like, thank God.
It's over.
I failed. It's over. Now I can see my graph. I'm walking to the receptionist thinking, okay, I know the networking domain was the weak, I mean, something that I was the weakest in compared to all the other domains. That is where the graph is going to go full. That's the domain I need to really work on. Go walk to the receptionist. The way she gives me my paper in a very professional manner. Now, in a professional manner, that means I do not. Now, when I reflect, I do not know whether she would say that was I passed or failed. I don't think she even seen my result. In a very blank face, she gave me the result and said, "You can leave." I look at the paper and I see something of congratulations, but that doesn't register with me. I'm looking where the graph is. Okay. I don't see the graph. Then I tell myself, okay, Nathaniel, you're very tired. Go home, have some water, go to sleep, then look at the paper, because right now you cannot look at anything properly. Okay. I walk out of the exam hall. On the road to the metro, I look at the paper and it reads congratulations. Now, that still doesn't register with me. Okay. I still think something's wrong. I walk a little ahead. Then I see congratulations again. At that point, I knew for a fact IC Square screwed up. Because they cannot pass me. My exam went extremely bad. So the next very thoughts were, in CISSP, there's a concept, I mean, not only in CISSP, in security as well, there's a concept of non-reputation. Basically, a person, you have proof, undeniable proof, that something's gone wrong. Basically, it'll be like a video camera footage or someone signing into a registry, whatever. You entered. That is the same concept I thought I'll implement right here. I took a picture of the letter saying congratulations and sent it to five or to three other people to make sure that when IC Square goes to court, I can tell them your computer printed congratulations by mistake. So that was my that it didn't register. And I'm a technical guy. I know if it's a if else statement. You pass, it prints congratulations. If it fails, it tells you where you're weak. But logic was thrown out of the door. I mean, I do not know. I just after I reached home, I got a call from my friend. Um, that time, he said congratulations, and that's the point I understood.
There it is.
I think it's almost an hour after I reached home. Did I realize after I give the exam around an hour? That time I realized, okay, I have passed, and I still do not understand the meaning of passed. I just understood I passed. I don't know if that makes sense in any way, but yeah, that's what I understood. It took me, I think, one day to understand the true meaning of what I've done, and then I was like, okay, fine. Now I have to get through my endorsement process. Now, for me, very specifically, passing CISSP at the age of 23 and actually getting a certificate might be shocking to a lot of people. But my background being that I have been working since the age of 16, I tell people I started working at the age of 18, obviously for legal reasons. But and then I just give them all the proof. I mean, you go talk to my clients. These are the letterheads that I have. I give them all the proof that okay, this is what it is. And I was waiting for the endorsement mail to come. I did not put it out anywhere publicly because for me it was like normally when people pass the CISSP, they put it out like I passed the CISSP exam and then endorsement should get done. For me, I was scared like okay, I'm a 23-year-old guy. My situation is a little unique. Let me get the entire endorsement process done. Then I will go out publicly saying that I passed the CISSP. Got that done, and every day after I submit my endorsement, I'm going to my mail searching ISC Square, and the only thing that it reads, please submit your documentation for endorsement. Basically, I didn't for 5 weeks. I did not get my. I was waiting for the endorsement process to complete. It took around 5 weeks, and every day I would go onto my mail and check when if my mail has come, if my mail has come over and over again. So that was like the most daunting process, and daunting, scary, as well as excited, obviously. And the day it came, mentally I prepared. Okay, my headline is ready. Pass CISSP at the age of 23. That itself should be hopefully should be good enough to surprise most people. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I'll just be honest. These are the exact feelings, and this is exactly what was in my mind throughout the entire process of studying for CISSP.
Well, hey, my friend, congratulations. Seriously, that's awesome. No small achievement, definitely something to be proud of. So kudos to you. But I know, look, we're getting to the end here. What, if I may ask, are your, I don't know, last couple of words of wisdom? Any advice? What would you tell anyone tuning in, listening in, if they were going to go chase CISSP? What would you tell them? Like, what would you say? Hey, here's what you should be doing, and here's the best way to kind of carve that path for yourself.
In honest regard, I'm still learning. Okay, so there are more smarter people. Like I'm talking to one right now. So I'll just say that I was always that guy who would go down to the extreme deep levels of understanding things at a very fundamental level, right down to Wireshark level or packet level. And I think that knowledge is really useful now. And I went and did things just out of curiosity, and then helping clients and all. I think that really helped me. But with respect to people passing the CISSP, it's something I don't like very specifically because I've met a lot of CISOs who are extremely smart in terms of certification, and when you talk to them, it's another ball game altogether. So yeah, the only thing I'll say is maybe actually sit and study and understand things at a fundamental level, because that is something that will help. Don't do it for passing the exam, do it with the sake of actually learning and understanding, because then you can start, once you know the rules of the game, you can start to manipulate it, you can start to bend it. I mean, that's really hacking, right? That's the true essence of hacking. Once you know how things are made, you know how to break it. So that's the only thing I'll say. And then the main words of wisdom, I think you please give me. You're the expert between us.
Look, it's totally your success. It's all your celebration here. But if I had my own parting shots, I would like to think that, look, this is a stepping stone. It's really, really cool to celebrate and to be thinking, look, we crossed the goal line, we've hit the milestone that we were working towards, and like that is absolutely 1,000% worthy of the celebration and praise. But like this is just the next sort of mile marker in your career, your growth, your progress, and that's really can go the same for anyone listening in. Like if you're chasing an exam, if you're trying to study for a certification, look, whether it happens, whether you pass, whether you fail and take it again and pass later, once you pass, congrats, phenomenal. And now this is a notch on your belt, an accolade, and something you can bring to employers, bring to a job, bring to the resume, and it just kind of adds to your stockpile. So keep on stockpiling. Take one win, and now let's go hunt for the next win.
Great, great, great. Thanks for that advice. Yeah, man, I'm already on to the next certification now.
Excellent. Well, hey, thank you so much, Nathaniel. This has been super duper cool. It's wonderful to meet you. Anything else? Are there anything that we're missing? Is there more to dig into, or how are you feeling?
Amazing, amazing. I mean, oh, yeah, it's just the next certification, the next wave, the next topic to learn. So that's the most fun part of security. I mean, there's always something next you can go to and learn. That's the most interesting. I mean, look at your channel. You diving to the next topic, the next topic. That's just such a big inspiration. Yeah. I mean, I started looking at your videos. I think I'm going to continue for the rest of my life.